one that I'm like, oh my God, to be part of something that is kind of that impactful for this community, because it offers, if you're able to, if we're able to, get that many, new startup companies off the ground, you could start a whole new industry in this community, even in manufacturing, that might be high-tech manufacturing for new joints, new something. And if you think of all the veterans that are here, and Fort Bliss and everything that's here, the ability to have test groups and subjects and things and really expand that workforce and expand that field of job industry in this community would be awesome.
Impact, absolutely.
And so you combine that with the fact that now we've got a four-year medical school, and we've got UMC next door, and then you've got tests, and there's just so many opportunities that that campus is growing. So that's all volunteer for me.
That sounds seriously.
That's separate and
very
apart.
Rewarding. Wow.
That's separate and apart from my day job, where I get to drive my staff crazy.
Well, so far, to your credit, I think your staff speaks wonders of you. So I don't know. I think you're again being very humble there. So just curious, what got you started down the path of wanting to be an engineer versus an attorney? I mean, you could have picked all sorts of different things. Most people, when they think of engineers, they think of very, very
nerds.
Very smart. I was going to say very smart, very, very intelligent, well-researched people. What got you going down that path?
My dad's an electrical engineer.
Ah.
I think I was a baby with a slide rule under my pillow. But I went into civil engineering because I wanted to do environmental law. And graduating from high school, I had a choice of civil or environmental engineering, but because my dad was an engineer and he always kind of preached the value of a technical background, I thought, well, what better way to be a lawyer than to understand the technical arguments behind it? And so I thought, well, I'll get the engineering degree anyway. And then didn't end up, deciding that I wanted to read for the rest of my life like that, which is ironic because my brother and I had these conversations for years and years, and he's now starting his second year of law school, so at least one of us did it.
Yeah.
But for me, I found it so rewarding, even straight out of college, my first and second year in my first job, going out to the field and seeing the things that I designed go into the ground, and seeing how that was materializing into something that everybody would appreciate or at least use. I mean, nobody notices the water line in the street. Nobody cares until you turn on the key at the faucet in the bathroom and nothing comes out and then everybody screams. Or you flush the toilet and it doesn't go anywhere and then everybody freaks out. It's one of those little things that's taken for granted, but by the same token, when you're on the flip side, you understand, you can see the true value in what that stuff means. It shapes a community. Stormwater systems, making sure that people don't flood.
That's very important, by the way.
Right?
Very important.
Streets being designed so that they're safe to drive on.
But especially in this area, when things flood, you don't want to be downtown.
It's a disaster.
Yeah.
And so there are things that nobody thinks about until it all falls apart.
Right.
And my staff is starting to do it now too, but we're the dorks that drive out in the middle of the rain and drive around to make sure that the storm sewer systems are working the way we designed them.
Those are called heroes in my book, okay? I don't know about dorks.
It's just fun to see what you designed actually work.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm fascinated. Question, what vision do you have for what you guys are doing? I mean, obviously there's a trajectory. Obviously there's a direction to what you're doing. Where do you see you all in the next 5 to 10 years?
It's funny that you ask, because we've actually been working on strategic vision plans and how we're going to grow and what we're going to do. And we're really focusing on growth in new sectors of new markets and new sectors of the market. So we've hired staff that has more interest and more background recently, like in transportation projects. That's not something that I necessarily have much background in. I've always focused on land development and the water and wastewater utility side. We represent some utility districts on the east side where we've done their reverse osmosis plant, their wastewater treatment plant, all their permitting, all their major infrastructure. since 1995. And so that's really been our forte and the stuff that I can do in my head. But we've got staff that likes other things too, and so we're working with them to invest in them and to invest in things for the firm that can help grow that stuff. So what we're really looking at doing is kind of diversifying our markets and expanding those people in those markets so that we can offer a wider variety of services and in a wider variety of areas. So maybe it's not just El Paso or El Paso County for our particular office. We're doing a little bit of work in New Mexico, but maybe we expand into Doña Ana County. Maybe we serve parts of West Texas that go out to Fort Stockton and Midland and other areas.
But you're still, if I'm understanding you properly, you're still compartmentalizing some of these niches so that this talent that you have brought on board can really focus and kind of departmentalize, if you will, that particular sector of growth.
To a certain extent, and I say yes, we want them to become the best experts they can be in that field, but I fully believe in having a well-rounded staff. So just because you're hired to do this one little thing doesn't mean that I don't think you should learn these other things, because I think it makes you a better engineer, a better project manager, and does a better service to the client if you can at least speak knowledgeably to the basics of some of the other things. So, and we're a small enough firm, and I hope to always be in a small enough firm that nobody loses sight of that. Because I don't, one of the things that I will say is I had several opportunities in my career to go work for a big firm and to go be a number in a 2,000 or 3,000 person firm. And I don't work and play well with others. So, for lack of a better description, that just wasn't going to work for me. I always knew that I wanted to be in charge. And I always knew that I liked the freedom to work on something today and go out to the field tomorrow and work on something different. And so we've tried to afford our staff the same opportunity where everybody gets to dabble a little bit. And so it takes you a few years to become closer to an expert in any particular field, but it makes you much more well-rounded.
Sure.
And I think that's more valuable. And so I think regardless of how quickly we grow, that would always be my goal for the firm, is to make sure that everybody kind of has a cross-training.
Right.
So that if the market changes and there's no work in this one thing, it doesn't mean that your department goes away. It means that you get to work on something else because you still have other talents.
Right, right. I think it was, well, one of the mentors that I've had the blessing of learning from taught me that the more skills you have, the more money you make.
Of course.
And the more well-rounded you are, obviously, and better understanding you have. So I'm curious, what would you say are some of the tougher challenges that you've had to overcome in getting to where you're at? And obviously in the time that you have been operating and had then founded TRE, you've made some fast-track success happen. So to do some of that, you know, there's always, I've found, ceilings or obstacles that get in people's way, and unless they're ready to push through them, go around them, go under them, go over them one way or another, get past those fears, those difficulties, those challenges, they don't grow and they're stuck. And you know, they never grow outside of that comfort zone, as it were. So what would you say are some of those for you?
I guess starting the firm was a little scary.
Why would you say it was scary?
Well, in the sense that you have the utmost faith and utmost belief, and you can plan, and I'm a planner, but you can plan forever and a day, but just because you plan for it doesn't mean it's actually going to work out that way. The hardest part was staying on track, being patient enough to see the plan come through, and having the fortitude to do that. And I will say that for me it was easier because I had an incredible support system. My dad was an utility executive all his life, or all his professional career, and so every time I'd freak out, he'd be like, "Oh, it's okay, calm down." My mom,
Breathe.
You're gonna be fine. We'll help you out until it happens. If we need to, we're good. And my boyfriend was a business consultant, same thing, and he said, you have a plan, you know your plan said it was gonna take 90 to 120 days, you're only on day 60, don't freak out yet. But planning has a lot to do with it, and plan for something and then over plan is kind of the best suggestion I can give. And so if you think that you're not gonna have receivables, because the hardest part of a business, okay, so we bought TRE December 1st, and everybody says, okay, great, you're gonna be great. No, no, no. You have to work for 30 days, December, the whole month of December, and then January 1st you bill. And then it takes people 30 to 90 days to pay you. So from work you did December 1st, you may not get paid for 120 days. And
We know that, all that too well.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, anybody that's gone through this has seen that. And I planned for it. And so the interesting part, my business partner and I handled more of the business side because I was running the El Paso office, and our boss at the time, John Jansing, had given me more insight into that. And he had always done more technical engineering work. He didn't have that glimpse in the financial stuff that I had the opportunity to have on billings and receivables. And so I kept saying, we're not going to get cash for a while. And towards the 75th day, he's like, we really don't have any cash yet? No, we really don't have any cash yet. And so he's like, well, I know you told me 90 days, but I really thought it wouldn't be that long. I'm like, no, I really thought it would be longer. And so it was just one of those things of over-preparing. But the scariest part for me, on the professional level, at that point when we took over the firm, was just being patient enough to say, I know it's going to come together, I know it's all going to be fine. Because I'd gone from, I'd taken care of a staff and I made sure, looked out for their interests, but I wasn't the one signing their checks.
Yeah.
And I wasn't the one making sure that they had a full paycheck to go take care of their families.
And now all that was on you.
And now that all that was on me. And so staying up at night going, did that check come in? I knew it was coming, but it still kept me up at night.
Yeah. I can tell you we know all that all too well.
Anybody that started a business does.
It's one of the, I think probably one of the most stressful parts of running a staff is meeting things like payroll.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But obviously you all have done and continue to do well over that initial hump, if you will.